of Health would like to inform the general public on the ongoing DNA paternity testing into increased social disharmony among families. What is DNA? DNA is a short acronym for deoxyribonucleic acid, which is a material found in all cells of living organisms that has a unique signature and coding for specific characteristics of that organism. It is the vehicle that passes on traits from parents to children and can be used to accurately assess biological relationships between organisms. It is what we call Gov't in Uganda. I'll now talk about DNA testing. While the public today is only conscious of DNA testing for paternity cases, that is where father of a child is in question, some of the other areas we use DNA testing for are: 1, to detect infectious diseases like COVID-19, Ebola, HIV, TB, etc. 2, to predict the risks of developing certain diseases, e.g. some cancers, and to guide treatments. 3, to determine the maternity or paternity of a child who is suspected to have been switched at birth in the hospital or when required for immigration purposes. 4, to solve crime or identify the unknown dead body. That is like in forensics, like what you saw in Kasese. And 5, to read the entire genetic makeup of an organism in order to understand the characteristics of interest to scientific research. DNA paternity testing has been going on in the country for close to 20 years. It is also routinely used to resolve paternity and kinship disputes. However, social media reports of child neglect, homicide, and even suicide following the issuance of negative paternity tests have created the impression of a DNA paternity testing crisis in the country. As a result, the public has gone further to question the validity and integrity of DNA paternity testing results, credibility of the persons, and the laboratories conducting the tests. So what is government doing to regulate DNA testing in the country? Government has taken a keen interest in the matter and conducted a consultative meeting with the different government ministries, departments, and agencies alongside the testing laboratories to resolve the situation. A team consisting of experts in the field of DNA testing from the government testing laboratories, Makerere University College of Health Sciences, and the regulatory authorities were dispatched out to assess the DNA paternity testing laboratories. Preliminary review of data from the 2 laboratories that have routinely done paternity testing, that is the Government Analytical Laboratory and MBN Clinical Laboratory, has indicated that 7 out of 10 paternity disputes that sought DNA testing turned out to be positive biological relationships. And only 3 out of the 10 and negated biological relationships, thus confirming the grounds of dispute. Furthermore, the 30% of fathers with discordant or unmatched, those are the three results, had no social issues of child rejection, homicide, or suicide. This could partly be attributed to the fact that results were always professionally communicated. The media incidences may therefore point to mental health disturbances of parties involved, probably due to poor communication of results by some service providers, as well as social media sensationalization. However, I would like to reassure Ugandans that there is no paternity crisis in the country. I'll now talk about laboratories accredited to carry out DNA testing. DNA testing is a complex procedure that requires sophisticated technology, highly skilled personnel, and infrastructure. Even sample collection requires skillful handling because any contamination can lead to issuance of false results. This is why the testing, including sample collection, is restricted, and therefore the reason for having few laboratories certified to do the tests. Moreover, DNA testing for relationships reveals very sensitive information about an individual, and therefore data handling requires high level of security measures and ethical practices. Even more important is that DNA testing for relationship touches the core of society, which is the family. It is therefore a matter that cannot be handled lightly. Currently, there are two main laboratories in the country that have been nationally and internationally certified and accredited to run DNA paternity testing. One is the Gov't Analytical Laboratory in Wandegea, and the second is the MBN Clinical Laboratories on Nakasero Road. Both laboratories are located in Kampala. These have been certified by the government regulatory authorities, the Allied Health Practitioners Council, and the Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Council, and or accredited by international accreditation bodies. Several other laboratories in Uganda are also accredited and certified to do DNA testing for diagnostic and research purposes, like investigating trends in COVID-19, TB, HIV, sickle cell, hepatitis B, and cancers. And these are the Central Public Health Laboratories, the National TB Reference Laboratory, the Joint Clinical Research Center, and laboratories at Uganda Virus Research Institute, Makerere, and Mbarara universities. There are more than 50 clinical laboratories in Ugandan hospitals which are internationally accredited for various tests. Being accredited means the results are of the highest quality possible and can be accepted anywhere in the world. The Ministry of Health is aware that several laboratories have come out purporting to do DNA paternity testing, whereas they only collect samples and ship them for testing elsewhere, either within or outside the country. Various equipment and technologies can be used for DNA testing, and several of those are being promoted in the country. But it is very important that these laboratories use only the methods that have been validated for use in the country. The equipment, technologies, and reagents being used for DNA paternity testing within the two certified laboratories, that is the Gov't Analytical Laboratory and MBN, are validated and found to be of sound standards. And this was part of the basis for their certification and international accreditation. There have been suspicions that some unscrupulous agents might have smuggled fake equipment or reagents, can call them kits, for DNA paternity testing into the country. I have been informed of some rapid diagnostic tests purported to be home-based DNA test kits, some of which are available online. These RDTs, or rapid diagnostic tests, are not validated for use in Uganda and therefore are not allowed into the country, whether for use in public or in the private sector. Government interventions. I have instructed the Department of National Health Laboratory and Diagnostic Services of the Ministry of Health to work with the National Drug Authority and Uganda Revenue Authority to ensure these fake DNA rapid test kits and other such fake laboratory supplies are gotten rid of and not allowed into the country. I want to caution Ugandans not to use these rapid kits or accept these alleged rapid DNA test kits to be used for testing them, because they will get wrong results. The ministry will continue to provide standards and regulatory oversight necessary to ensure that all laboratory processes, including DNA paternity testing, guarantee quality and reliability of the laboratory test results. The following additional interventions have been planned by the ministry to ensure quality and reliability of DNA paternity testing services in the medium and long term. 1, we'll develop and implement guidelines to streamline DNA paternity testing to ensure quality, legal, ethical, and professional practices are adhered to, and psychosocial structures are available to support the pre- and post-DNA test counseling services. 2, to support in fast-tracking the enactment of the DNA Evidence and Database Bill proposed by the Ministry of Internal Affairs. Overall, this will ensure that A, DNA testing is done only by laboratories that have been authorized for testing through certification and accreditation. B, only qualified professionals will be allowed to do the testing. C, only certified laboratories be allowed to collect DNA test samples. D, only validated methods and technologies are used for testing. And E, the right steps are followed to provide results and information to clients with the necessary psychosocial support, as well as pre- and post-DNA test counseling of affected clients and families. As I conclude, I would now like to guide the population as follows. 1, only the 2 certified and accredited laboratories, that is the Gov't Analytical Laboratory in Wandegea and the MBN Clinical Laboratory on Nakasero Road, both in Kampala, shall be allowed to do DNA paternity testing in Uganda for now. 2, the DNA paternity testing laboratory shall demonstrate robust system of data management with strict data security to avoid misuse of personal data. 3, no laboratories and clinics will be allowed to collect samples for DNA paternity testing unless they have agreements with the laboratories to which they send samples for testing, and the testing laboratories take full accountability for the results. 4, no laboratory or any facility shall ship any samples for DNA paternity testing outside the country, except with special clearance from the Director General of Health Services and/or Uganda National Council for Science and Technology. 5, any laboratory that is prepared and wants to do DNA paternity testing can apply to the Director General of Health Services, who will set up a team of experts to assess the laboratory, its equipment, and personnel for certification. Government would like to caution both the traditional media as well as social media players to report any DNA paternity testing responsibly to avoid the negative impact on mental health of affected children and the families and society at large. I thank you for listening to me. For quick information, if you would like any, we have a fact sheet that has been prepared and will be distributed to you in due course. I thank you for listening.